Hey there, parents. How's it going? Welcome to the Meyer house here. This week wasn't able to get the video done at work, and so was able to kind of bring stuff home and make things happen here. I pray that your week is going well, and but if it's not, what an opportunity we have to go to the Lord in prayer and have this group time that you have, whether you're watching this video yourself or with a group of people, to be able to share life together. As we jump into chapters 7 and 8 of Your Teenager Is Not Crazy, a lot of things jump out. I'm just always impressed with how well these chapters are put together, yet in such a simple format. So I hope you have the book. I hope you're having an opportunity to read through and see what the authors are talking about, because I think there's some great research as well as the faith aspects and the suggestions. These two chapters really offered a bunch to talk about. In chapter 7, it just really talks about emotions and talking, and how your vocabulary expands over the course of through kind of puberty, and as they grow over the years, and that really expands. As you can see, cat needs to be part of the video, and the challenge is, and actually I think a lot of adults don't do this well, is when you have those emotions, those feelings going on in your life, because the brain isn't fully developed, you're not able to, because of the lack of vocab too, as the book points out, you're not able to connect your feelings and your emotions with your vocabulary, and you can't even always communicate. And so when your child says, "I don't know," they may not know. Sometimes they may be just being stubborn and playing with you, but other times they may not really know. And so teens need time, I think, sometimes to figure things out, and sometimes need a process to go through. And so sometimes it's going to be helpful for you to give them time, follow up with them, and they're going to be able to communicate to you. Sometimes you're going to need someone else, and so that's where it's great to have a teacher, a coach, a small group leader, aunt and uncle, maybe someone like myself, a youth leader, someone that's going to be able to talk to your child and where your child feels comfortable. But I'll be honest, worked with a lot of youth over the years, and some of them have wanted to talk with me, and it's been really cool to have that opportunity, and really a privilege for me to have God use me in those moments. And there's been times where, like, dude, even I, with my training experience, I can't get these kids to talk. I've had a few youth over the years where I've done like kind of like a home visit. My other church in Minnesota, I used to do Dairy Queen with Daniel, and I had a couple kids where, like, I'd pick them up after school, and it was one of the most painful things in my life, because these kids literally just didn't know how to talk. So what are you doing at school? Yeah, I got some class. I mean, just they just never really had much to say, and it was 2-3 word answers, and you just moved on. And so I, always try to wear those kids out in time. But I really encourage you, look at pages 82 to 85 in chapter 7, and what stands out as you look at those things, and ultimately what this chapter, I think, talks about as you emotionally connect with your child and have them work through their feelings and those kind of things, is it talks about you reflect your heart as a parent to your child. And that's kind of a scary thing to think about, I believe. And so as you try to communicate your heart, you're going to really show what's appropriate emotionally, not emotionally, and what are those opportunities and moments to live out life, and how do you go about that process. And like I said, sometimes you're going to be able to do that at home, but I also encourage you to find others, and you may even need a counselor. I would really just even if life is going perfect at your family, what is your EAP on your insurance card? What options do you have? I think it would be helpful to know that, because if then a situation comes, you're able to handle that and say, "Gosh, I already know what our insurance benefits offers." If we would need to seek some counseling and some guidance. And I would even encourage to do that when maybe your backs aren't completely against the wall with your child, maybe with something. So a lot of great stuff in chapter 7. Like I said, 82 to 85 really have some great tips, and I think that provides some discussion with you and your spouse, or with your group. Then in chapter 8, we switch gears just a touch, and we talk about kind of when that child, but very similar, when your child's kind of freaking out, and they're kind of getting upset about something. They really bring in the research and talk about the limbic system and the emotional brain. When I read the chapter, I almost felt like, how sophisticated is my limbic system and my emotional brain? You talk to people who know me well. I try to behave well at church and in public settings, but gosh, my limbic system may not be fully developed even at 38 years of age. And so that's a process, especially for teenagers. Again, you really model emotional health for your child. And I think also you can't give what you don't have. And so if you don't have that consistent emotional health, and all of us have different backgrounds, some of us that wasn't modeled to us. And so it's hard, again, to give what you didn't get. And so I really encourage you, if you're not involved with these types of things, I think these are things that you need to kind of pump the brakes and just evaluate as an adult. And these are things that are going to take behavior modification and kind of the systems and the routines that you live with. But I think of things of like spiritual disciplines. Okay? It's hard to have that peaceful prayer life and go to God with those things that really stress us out and try to properly manage those things and manage stress if our children don't see us do that. And we don't have maybe prayer, for example, as part of our life or scripture reading. Again, I'll bring up as I talked with chapter 7 about a counselor. You personally may be dealing with significant things. Maybe it's health-related things. Maybe it's job. Maybe it's finances. You look at between your spouse, or maybe you're a single parent, and you got the finances aspect. Maybe you've got other things. You've got maybe aging parents that they're having to tend and care for. There's a lot of different things, and I could list a litany of different things that may be going on in your life. But depending where you're at, that may then be transmitted to your children, where you're going, gosh, I'm really stressed and maxed out on some things, but I would do this differently. So I encourage you, maybe you need to be talking to someone. Maybe you need to be going to a counselor. I just know this. I think there's some really deep down stuff that maybe we never share with anybody. And I think that's okay. But I would say there's a second tier of things that are significant, things that are bothering us, things that are stressing us. And a lot of times, I don't know how often those things get shared in a safe place where you can get those things out and work through those things in your life. And I think all of us need to have an opportunity to do that. And sometimes we're just not always able to do that with our spouse. Maybe our pastor, maybe someone else can be an opportunity to do that. And I just don't think we do enough of that. And we wait for things to build up. And then sometimes things explode and things get too big. As chapter 8 kind of wraps up, again, 92 to 95 have, again, some great tips. And one that stuck out to me is when you have these kind of spastic moments from your kids and they're going crazy and they're responding to something and they forgot their instrument, as the book talks about. I think it's easy to get involved into the moment, and I'm like the king of doing that. And then it talks about how then your child's focusing on that instead of maybe the issue at hand. I like how this chapter kind of concludes talking about the fruits of the Spirit. I would pray and ask the Spirit to work mightily, and I would encourage you to jump back to Galatians and review the fruits of the Spirit. And maybe this year, as if you're watching this video now, we just kind of started a new year in 2020. But whenever you're watching this, that you could live those fruits of the Spirit more fully in your life, and I believe you'd be more blessed. And so, blessings on your week, your discussion, and we will see you next time. Thanks.